Today, CMC, Columbus CEO, and DTZ present the next installment of our series, What's on Your Mind? Won't you please help me thank our sponsors and welcome Kelly Godshaw, Marketing Manager of DTZ, to the stage to introduce our speakers.
Hello, everyone, and thanks, Mindy. On behalf of the new merged company, DTZ is now the third largest commercial real estate firm in the world. And we are pleased to continue to support the mission of the Columbus Metropolitan Club to engage week after week the people, the ideas, and the conversation that is important to the vitality of our community. Today's jobs require technical skills and training well beyond the high school, and employers locate and expand in communities where workers have those skills. Critical to the long-term economic success of our community will be public awareness of and access to affordable post-secondary education and certificate programs. Columbus State Community College is leading the way with a wealth of innovative programs and partnerships with schools, business, nonprofits, and government. Please welcome the president of Columbus State Community College, Dr. David Harrison. David will provide opening remarks and then sit down with Jerry Revish for the interview portion of our program. David, the podium is yours. Let's provide another warm welcome for both of our speakers today.
Thank you, Kelly. A while back, the Columbus Dispatch did a front page Sunday article on college costs. And the hook in the article was a mother whose daughter went to Miami University, and the mom said, every fall I feel like I'm driving a new car to Oxford and taking the bus home. And then the article closed with the mom saying, I feel like I don't have a choice. When I hear families talk about not having a choice, I got to tell you, that gets right up next to me. So I appreciate a few minutes today to be able to talk to you about the choices that students in our community truly do have. There's been a lot of media attention recently about the cost of college and rising student debt. Both President Obama and Governor Kasich have recently made policy recommendations that put community colleges in a leadership role. This confidence is well placed. Community colleges are purpose-built to address two of Ohio's most urgent needs. One is rising student debt, and the other is unmet workforce needs. In the short time I have here, I want to frame the problem and propose some solutions. The punchline is this: student debt can largely be avoided or substantially reduced if students know their options and have a plan. While much of the media attention is on the rising costs of higher education generally, community colleges and universities play distinctly different roles and have substantially different business models. Community colleges are committed to access. We're inclusive, not exclusive. We have open admission policies intended to serve students of all ages and backgrounds: first-generation students, low-income students, students of color, adults in transition, returning veterans. Our students are from Ohio, and they want to stay in Ohio. Over 60% of our students attend part-time, and the majority of them work. Many of them work more hours than I would prefer. Our students work hard. They're juggling one or more jobs, many of them family responsibilities, either young children or aging parents, or both. They want it bad. I'm always amazed at the resilience and optimism of our students, and I refer to them often as my heroes. We have some of my heroes over here at this table. They better not be missing class to be here today. But they do have an assignment, and they know they can't leave until they have at least 5 business cards to take home with them. So if you see them stalking you after this presentation, it's my fault. Community colleges are teaching colleges. All of our resources go into teaching and learning. When you tour our campuses, you won't see climbing walls or lazy rivers. You won't see high-end dining facilities, that's for sure. You also won't see 800 student lecture halls. You'll see small classes taught by experienced professionals. The emphasis is firmly on relationships, on growth, on student learning, and on skill development. So we bring a pragmatic edge to the cost and student debt conversation. And the debt data are startling. Total student debt now exceeds the $1 trillion mark. Many economists are calling student debt the next housing bubble. And having spent 10 years in Florida during the last housing bubble, that analogy scares me a lot. The average debt of bachelor's degree graduates today is almost $30,000, and it takes new graduates 14 years on average to pay off their student loans. And we got to be careful about averages because many students don't graduate with any debt at all, and they typically come from wealthier families. So the students who are borrowing to finance their undergraduate education, in many cases, are those who can least afford it. I was speaking with a young woman recently who was just a few years removed from earning her bachelor's degree, and she was talking about her group of friends and how many of them felt that they had to go to graduate school in order to get ahead professionally, but they hadn't yet paid off their undergraduate student loans. So they're going to have to borrow to go to grad school. So this group of young professionals, the people who we want to be successful, won't pay off their own loans until their 30s or maybe well into their 40s, the very time that they need to be saving for their own children's education. So this is truly a multi-generational issue. And it doesn't have to be this way. Students and families do have a choice. We're lucky in Central Ohio with an impressive number of public and private universities who are partnering with Columbus State in unprecedented ways to create affordable pathways for students to earn their college degree. We're not yet at scale, but we have all the elements in place to ensure that every student can earn a college degree with little or no debt. We now enter the math portion of my talk, starting with 2 + 2, all right? 4 years ago, we partnered with Ohio State on a new program called Preferred Pathway, which guarantees admission to OSU for our students and called for deeper alignment of curriculum and processes around the needs and experiences of our students. Soon other universities, including Ohio U, Miami, Capital, Franklin, Ohio Dominican, Ohio Wesleyan, and Otterbein, joined the partnership. It has quickly become one of the most productive 2 + 2 partnerships in America, and in some cases a 3 + 1 partnership. Franklin and Ohio University have accelerated programs for a lot of our technical degrees for students to earn fully 75% of their bachelor's degree at Columbus State. Through Preferred Pathway, our graduates, again, are guaranteed admission and receive advising from both Columbus State and the university partner. Students earn their associate's degree and transfer as juniors into their chosen field of study, ensuring no loss of credit. Again, the first 2, freshman and sophomore year at Columbus State, the second 2, 3 and 4, junior and senior year at their university of choice. This gives students a guaranteed plan academically and financially. We're trying to eliminate uncertainty, and it gives students a plan that they can follow. Many of our partners are now offering scholarships, special advising, and early access to university resources. Importantly, graduates that follow this path earn the same bachelor's degree at a fraction of the cost. It's simple math. For a full-time student at Columbus State, tuition is about $4,000 a year. At our partner institutions, it's anywhere from $10,000 a year to $40,000 a year. The publics are at the low end, the privates are at the higher end. So a bachelor's degree through the Preferred Pathway program at Columbus State saves students between 30% and 40% on their tuition expenses. That's between $12,000 and $75,000 on the cost of a bachelor's degree. Now that's list price, and I know not all students pay list price at every university, but that also excludes other expenses like housing. And many universities require students to live on campus for 2 or even 3 years. But it's not just about price, it's about value. And the reason universities are eager to partner in this way is because our students do very well when they transfer. According to the National Student Clearinghouse, of students who followed a 2 + 2 pathway to a bachelor's degree, 74% were successful. Of those who started at a university, only 63% were successful. These are national data that I'm going to repeat. So students who followed a 2 + 2 pathway were successful at a 74% rate. Students who started at a university were successful at a 63% rate to earn their bachelor's degree. While we're making good progress locally, we're not adopting these practices with sufficient urgency to make this pathway the rule rather than the exception. Ohio is lagging in its use of community colleges, and it shows in our poor position nationally with regard to student debt. Ohio ranks 11th in the U.S. in terms of both the percent of students who take on debt and in the amount of debt that they take on, close to $30,000 in the state of Ohio. States with strong 2+2 policies and practices, such as Florida and California, score much better in terms of average student debt. Florida is 40th, California is 49th. Bigger numbers are better on this list. At the University of Central Florida in Orlando, where I used to work, one of the largest universities in America, more than half of their bachelor's degrees are awarded to community college transfers. Now, I know this isn't for everyone. The 2+2 pathway, I know, is not for everyone. The conventional residential university experience is the right choice for many students, but you pay a premium for it. And we want students and families to know going in what all their options are. With preferred pathway, this premium is a choice. It's not a requirement. Made the reference a minute ago to the housing bubble. One of the issues that we had in Florida was that many people bought more house than they could afford and more house than they needed. This is playing out in undergraduate education too. Jobs requiring a post-secondary credential have tripled in the last generation, but the vast majority of this growth has been in jobs requiring an associate's degree or technical certificate, not a bachelor's degree. The demand for associate's degrees has grown at 3 times the rate as that of bachelor's degrees. A recent study from Harvard University predicts that there will be an overwhelming majority of jobs that require technical skills or associate degree level training. Only 33% of jobs in their study they're projecting will require a bachelor's degree going forward. And in Columbus, we're seeing it play out the same. Last week, JPMorgan Chase released its Skills in Demand report as part of their New Skills at Work initiative. And it stated there are currently 270,000 high-wage, focused skill occupations in our region, and that's where the job growth is going to be, 10,000 a year for the foreseeable future in that space. A couple weeks ago, I was at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and I know many of you were there, and an HR executive from one of our larger employers came up to me and said, "Dave, I just hired 60 of your students." And he said, "I want to hire 60 more." This is a program that we had been working on over the last 3 years. So when I hire 60 more, he said, the 60 we have, we're going to pay for their bachelor's degree at Franklin through the 3+1 program that I just talked about. So think about that math. So these students paid no more than $8,000 for their associate's degree, got a $50,000 a year job, and their employer is going to pay for their bachelor's degree. For students who followed that plan, it's a pretty good choice. So I need your help. We need to change the community conversation so that more students and families are informed about their choices. You don't have to borrow a lot of money to earn a bachelor's degree, and you definitely don't have to borrow a lot of money to start a great career with an associate's degree. We all have a stake in this. So when you hear someone, a family member, a friend, someone you bowl with, someone you go to church with, saying they don't feel like they have a choice, remind them that they do. One of the reasons I love my job as much as I do is because we have commencement twice a year. It's my favorite day. Ours usually start late because I'm usually in the back shooting the breeze with students, trying to hear their stories and understand what it is that made them successful. And when I ask them that question, they always give me a name. They always talk about a person, a faculty member or a staff member. Sometimes it's more than one person. They don't talk about our facilities. They don't talk about our library. They don't talk about our cafeteria. They definitely don't talk about our cafeteria. But it's our people. And we have a lot of our people here today, most of them sitting in these tables. So if you could join me in a round of applause for our faculty and staff at Columbus State. They take the success of our students personally, and the value they provide this community is unsurpassed. Help me spread the word. Thank you.
Very good. Great speech. Covered a lot of ground there, Doctor. We appreciate that. Columbus State's been an institution, a fixture in our city for decades, and glad to see it growing and prosper. How about profiling the person who goes to Columbus State, and what attracts them there?
Well, it's really hard to profile our students because they come from all walks of life. And we pride ourselves on that. We think our student body looks more like Columbus than any other institution. And it certainly looks like what Columbus is becoming, and we're proud of that. We treasure that. I think the things that draw students to the college, though, regardless of where they're coming from, is we try to be easy to do business with. We want to make it easy to become a college student. So the accessibility is important. Many of our students are the first in their families to go to college. Many of them have tried elsewhere and not had a good experience and come to us. So that kind of accessibility and understanding is really important. What makes them stay is the experience they have in the classroom and the rigorous learning that they get from our faculty that's relevant and is going to tie directly to what they want to do in their lives. So we've got, I think, a great enterprise that allows students, regardless of their background, regardless of their goals, to find themselves in our work.
When they come to you, how ready are they for the college experience? Do you find yourself having to do a certain amount of remedial education?
Well, again, it's hard to generalize. We have many students who are not only ready to do college level work, but we actually have more who already have their bachelor's degree than we've ever had before. So students who are coming to us for specific skills to advance in their career. But we do have a number of students who come to us not ready to do college level work, and that's something over the last 4 years we've really focused on specifically. First, working closely with high schools to help complete the alignment process, if you will, so that students aren't graduating from high school and then coming to college spending their tuition dollars on coursework that isn't at college level. So our high schools have been great partners in really trying to integrate that accelerated math is often where we see students struggle, that accelerated math program. We've now taken that same process and brought it on campus because many of our students don't come. I'm sorry, it says, please remember to talk to the audience, and I didn't do that. But
we're still listening, it's okay.
Right. But many of our students don't come directly from high school, so we've tried to make that same accelerated option available for our adult students who return to us, and really focus in on that regard. The next thing we're doing, and this is happening real time, our faculty are really rolling their sleeves up and having important conversations about how we can build the academic skills within the context of the professional or workforce skills that a student is trying to achieve, so that there's a context to it and it means something to students in a way that it may not have 10 years ago in their high school math class.
You touched in your remarks about unmet workforce needs. What are some of those, and how nimble is Columbus State in responding?
Well, we feel like it's a big part of our role to be able to respond to the needs of the emerging workforce, and are working closely, we're working hard on a sector strategy, and there are a number of broad sectors that we're focusing on. One is in healthcare, one is in insurance, and finance, business generally, financial services. Another is in information technology. Another is in advanced manufacturing. Logistics has been one that we have focused on for a number of years. That's one that we were able to really respond quickly during the peak of the recession in close partnership with employers, a lot of it through the Honda supply chain, to really help folks who had been displaced re-enter the workforce quickly. And in that program, we served 1,000 students, and the average age was 44 years old, and the placement rate was over 75%. So that's the kind of response that we really pride ourselves on.
Historically, less than half of the students who attend community colleges eventually graduate. You mentioned your retention rate and graduation rate is higher, so what's your secret? What are you doing?
Well, the completion rates that you read about, I always look at the math. I always look and see if the numerator and the denominator are the same, because in many cases our students aren't coming to us to get a degree. Being able to really respond to their needs in a way that, that again meets their needs, but also hits the scorecard is something that we're trying to address. We've had as big a focus on student success in the last 4 years as we have on anything else, and we're really focused on helping students start right. By really understanding the college-going process, help them connect with an advisor and with our faculty as soon as possible, and put them on a degree plan as quickly as we can. Our Pathways programs that I talked about have become a real positive step in that direction because students are able to really begin with the end in mind and plan their pathway early on. Where we have some work to do is many of our students transfer before they earn their associate's degree. We have a lot of data that show that students who earn their associate's degree before transferring on to the bachelor's degree have a substantially higher likelihood of ultimately earning their bachelor's degree. So that's something that we're trying to work hard on.
So how many credits earned at Columbus State are transferable to a four-year school?
Well, if you make the numbers simple and 60 hours is an associate's degree and 120 hours is a bachelor's degree, most of the Pathways programs we have, all of those would transfer. Now, if a student's taking remedial or developmental education, those aren't college-level courses, so those wouldn't transfer. The 3+1 programs that I talked about, again, in a 120-hour bachelor's degree, fully 90 hours would transfer. And we've got those arrangements with Franklin and Ohio U.
Yeah. So $8,000 will get a associate's degree at Columbus State. You still find some students in need of financial aid, and can you help them? Sure.
You know, we're trying to help more. So a large number of our students do receive federal financial aid. So there's a need-based program that really most of their needs are taken care of. We have a lot of other students who $8,000 is affordable to them. The students I worry about are the ones that are paying for their education out of their take-home pay, out of their discretionary income. When I meet with students, the two questions I ask are how many credit hours are you taking and how many hours are you working? And almost always students are taking a full-time course load and are working 30 or more hours. And again, many of them, as I said, have family responsibilities, have other things going on in their lives. We have a lot of students who tell us that they've got to do their homework before they go home because they have other responsibilities when they get there. So it's helping those students, again, who are doing all the right things. They're doing everything that we want them to do. Finding some means of scholarship or financial aid dollars to help bridge that gap is something we're working hard on.
Talking of money, let's stay on that for a moment. Are you attracting the big philanthropy dollars that the colleges and universities, the four-year schools do?
A year ago, the answer would have been not as much as I'd like. It's still not as much as I'd like, but we live in a very generous city. And we live in a sophisticated town as it relates to education, and we have some great corporate leaders who have stepped up to the cause of education. I'll just touch on two if I could. We've been working closely with Columbus City Schools, and Superintendent Dan Good is here. Dan's a great partner, and have been working regionally on a concept called dual enrollment, where students take college coursework while still in high school. That really started out as a remediation issue. We wanted to try to make the senior year more productive. So help identify if students are college ready as juniors. If they aren't college ready, help them get college ready their senior year. If they are college ready, start doing college level work. Well, American Electric Power, AEP, and the AEP Foundation got interested in that work and came to us with a $5 million grant to create a program called Credits Count, which allows us to partner with Columbus City Schools going into 5 different high schools over a 5-year period to accelerate student learning from a college readiness and career readiness standpoint. So we're helping students become college ready as soon as possible. When they are, they're taking Columbus State courses either towards a bachelor's degree or towards some of the career pathways that I talked about. The credits count grant actually includes also a middle school career component. Then, almost concurrently, JP Morgan Chase came to us about an international initiative that they were putting forward called New Skills at Work. And they have provided $2.5 million over 5 years for us to take the same principles I just talked about with Credits Count Partnership and Columbus City Schools regionally. To many other partners. So Superintendent Bill Wise from Southwestern Schools is here. Bill and his team are great partners in that regard. And Tom Goodney's the superintendent of the Educational Service Center of Central Ohio. Tom really helps coordinate a lot of those K-12 partnerships. So we've got a regional construct here that we really do think is moving the needle. And I talked in my remarks about the alignment at the higher ed level. The alignment is really getting solid between K-12 and post-secondary education too.
Because you're, so to speak, a commuter school, are you able to generate an alumni association, an organization with a profile like that?
How many of you have ever taken a class at Columbus State? You're our alumni. How many have driven by the campus? Pam, get their names. It's hard. I mean, it's a different model than universities, and of course, many of our alumni are also university graduates. The truth is, we don't do a great job of tracking that, although we do have some very prominent alumni who come up to me after an event like this and say, hey, I went to Columbus State. But it's something we're trying to do a better job, frankly, of tracking. And for me, it's purely selfish. I develop a relationship with our students, and when they leave, I want to see them again. And we want to see how they're doing. And I think especially with the Preferred Pathway program that I talked about, we've got some systems in place that will allow us to keep that kind of communication going.
Let's talk about your faculty for a little bit. Do your instructors teach more classes here at Columbus State than they would at a four-year school?
Well, our faculty teach. I mean, that's their role. While some of our faculty do research and are certainly experts in their field, that's not part of what they're required to do at Columbus State. So yeah, the teaching that our faculty do is a full-time part of their job. It's why they come to the college. It's not something that they're doing off the side of their desk or between research projects or anything like that. It's really what they're focused on. We have an incredible group of faculty who set the bar high, but care deeply about the success of our students, and it's really one of the strengths of the college.
Columbus has a robust population of new Americans, immigrants from other countries. Are you attracting them to Columbus State?
We are, and it's not necessarily intentionally, but I think we've created an environment that some have come, had a good experience, and then they refer us to family and friends. I think we do benefit, again, greatly from our relationship with other universities, especially Ohio State, who also brings a real international presence. So our ability to connect in that regard has been helpful. We're also seeing more interest in other countries looking to develop community college systems. Community colleges are uniquely American. It's the one educational construct that we invented. So countries like India and China specifically have been working with community colleges in America to figure out how they can develop their own similar system.
So how does your student body break as far as race, sex, age?
We have, and these are going to be round numbers. I've got plenty of people in here who can correct me. But we're about 35% minority. We're about 55% female. And the average age of our students is 27, but we don't have that many 27-year-olds. It tends to be more of a binary distribution where we've got more and more students coming directly from high school, so we've got a growing number of 18 and 19-year-olds. But we've also got a lot of students in their 30s and 40s who are in transition or have raised their children and are ready to focus on them now. I mentioned commencement before. The commencement ceremonies that I love is when I get to hand a diploma and shake the hand of a mother and a daughter coming across the stage concurrently, or a father and a daughter, or a father and a son, and that happens not every ceremony, but it happens a lot.
Now in a few minutes we're going to be moving to your questions, so I want you to be thinking about that, and there's the microphone there for you. What are you not teaching anymore? What have you found that just doesn't work, doesn't respond to what's needed out there?
Well, here's how I'll answer that question. If you look at our course catalog, I'm sure there are courses that have come and gone. What we focus on, though, aren't necessarily narrow programs, but broader industries. So as the industry changes and the needs of the industry change, our curriculum changes. So our information technology program looks very different today than it did 10 years ago, but we still have an information technology program. So we haven't closed it and started a new one. We've improved the one we have, keeping pace. We have, though, made some difficult decisions to make sure that all of our resources are focused on teaching and learning. So we've recently sold a golf course that the college has had for a number of years and have closed some.
Why would you do that?
I think the better question is why we had a golf course in the first place. But that's been a happy ending. And so we're continually taking a look at how we are allocating our resources to make sure they're focused on student learning.
Yeah. You mentioned you don't have any lazy rivers or climbing walls at the college there. But what do you have that enhances the experience for Columbus State students?
Well, that's a great question. We've actually had a great home court advantage, and I don't mean to speak ill of our cafeteria. It serves its purpose. But
you do have a culinary arts program, though, don't you?
well, we do, and it's one of the best in the country. Okay. And we have some facilities needs that we're really trying to address in that regard. But we have a great home court advantage. If you haven't been on campus, I would love to have you come. I mean, our student ambassadors are great tour guides, and they'll be able to really tell you about the life on the college. My favorite place at the college is our library. When I've been here since 2010, as I was coming in, they had already designed and had construction of a renovation of our library. We don't have a student union, so our faculty and staff really thought in a smart way about what our students needed. So they created a lot of intentionality in our library. So when you walk in our library, the first thing you see is a writing center, so that help with student writing is unavoidable. The next thing you see is an IT support center. So students who need help with their technology, that's the next thing they see with their eyes glare. So that kind of energy is something that we're really trying to expand in other parts of the college. We've got I'll tell this story, not too out of turn, I don't think. I talked about Miami University as being one of our great partners, and about a year and a half ago, we had their president, David Hodge, on campus with some of his staff to announce our partnership. And we were going around on a tour. It was a beautiful spring day. And I don't know who the young man was with President Hodge, but if he said one more time, "Wow, this is a real college," we were going to have words. but it is surprising, and people who have been in Columbus their whole lives and haven't been to Columbus State, when they get there, they say, I had no idea. So please, this is an open invitation. We'd love to have you come.
Yeah, let's follow up on that. Is there a stigma or a misperception that you're still working to overcome at Columbus State?
I think there is. I think that's community colleges, generally. College, the way people go to college now is different than the way many of us went. And I think, though, that perception is changing. And frankly, I think it's changing quickly. I keep talking about the tipping point. And in our staff meetings, I'm like, I don't think we're there yet, but we've got a number of our faculty and staff who have kids of their own, and they're in the schools, in the community, and I get reports back saying, I think we're closer to the tipping point than you think, because a lot of students and families are starting to understand the data that I talked about. And I think really importantly, they're seeing the students who are coming to Columbus State, the experience that they have, and how successful they are. We talk about all the students we send to universities. Those same universities send us a lot of students too. And the ability to plan around that pathway, to have the community college be plan A instead of plan B, instead of going to out-of-state school and then coming back to Columbus State when that didn't work out, which happens all the time. We love having them, but that costs the student time and money. With the infrastructure we have in place now, I think that's changing actually rapidly.
All right. It is a CMC tradition to take audience questions, so we want you to come to the mic, state your name, and ask your question. And we thank you in advance for avoiding long editorial comments. Okay. Sir, you're up.
Thanks very much. David, thanks very much for speaking to the Columbus Metropolitan Club today. You're someone who comes with national experience, having worked in Florida, having worked at other institutions. What do you think attracted you to come to Columbus State? How do you think Columbus State compares to other community colleges in Ohio? I'm a father of 3 in college, so your beginning remarks made a lot of sense to me, and I'm proud to say I've been a guest instructor at Columbus State. So let us know your thoughts.
Well, thank you for that. I wouldn't trade places with anybody. I think what we're doing and what we're capable of doing, I would put up against any community college in the country. I wasn't aware of that when I came here 5 years ago, and was drawn as much for family reasons as professional reasons. But I think we're in a community that understands and is sophisticated with regard to education generally and higher education specifically. The partnerships that I talked about, that doesn't happen everywhere. The collaborative spirit among university presidents and K-12 superintendents, in my view, is unsurpassed. And as you say, I have been elsewhere. That doesn't happen naturally elsewhere. And it's happening in a way that you all should know about. I mean, we've got a group of college presidents and superintendents that we're all just a phone call away. And every day those kinds of connections are taking place. And I think ultimately that is in students' best interest. I think also a little bit about what we were just talking about, that this is the time for community colleges. This is the next step in our evolution, and I know that Columbus State has never been more important to this community than it is today, and I'm humbled and pleased to be part of it.
Thank you, President Harrison. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Good afternoon, Dr. Harrison. Thanks for being here. My name is Betsy McCabe. I work for the United Way of Central Ohio. I'm also the mother of a son who's in his first semester at Columbus State, so I absolutely appreciate the value and the affordability that it offers. My question is this. I think we can all agree that college debt is a real problem for American citizens, but what would be worse than college debt is college debt without a certificate or a degree. And when I hear about some of the barriers and the struggles that your students are facing, I wonder how we as a community can help those students be successful so that we have even higher graduation rates. Well,
thank you for your question. Thank you for your partnership. United Way is a great partner, and and we'd like to do more. I mean, one of the big reasons that students leave are non-academic barriers. Many of our students, almost half, leave with a B average. So it's not because they couldn't do the college level work, it's because other things happened in their lives that caused them to leave. So the ability to really connect those dots is something that we're trying to work on now. I give the city a lot of credit. Mayor Coleman has taken a leadership role in this, and he has initiated a program with us that you all are involved in called Fast Path, which is really trying to help get students who can do college level work but are just on the edge in terms of their personal lives, and really try to get them that first employable skill set so that they can have some stability that hopefully frees up some time in their lives to do college level work. As I said, our students work hard. They're balancing a lot of priorities. For many of our students, especially our older students, college to them is the most important thing in their lives, but it's not the most urgent thing. And the ability to address those urgent needs through community partners like United Way, I think, is a big step.
Thank you.
One of the things, if I could, we have partnered with the Ohio Benefits Bank to try to bridge the gap. Now, we're not where we want to be yet, but the Ohio Benefits Bank is really a website. I'm sure it's more than that. But by populating the financial aid form, FAFSA, for example, it allows you to identify other services and funding that might be available to students that they don't know about. So I don't remember, I'll get the data wrong. Margie, you'll know the data. But I think there's $2 billion or something like that in relief that goes unspent in Ohio. Half of that is in food stamps. So the ability for our students to use their federal financial aid for tuition and books and use other resources for the living expenses is something that we're trying to connect in a better way.
Welcome, Dr. Harrison. I'm Margie Pizzuti, President and CEO of Goodwill Columbus. And first of all, words of gratitude to you for your steadfast and passionate leadership in transforming the lives of individuals in this community through the power of work. As you know, I'm also the...
Right back at you, by the way.
Thank you. Soul sisters and brothers here. As you know, I'm also the chair of the Human Service Chamber of Franklin County, which is an association of 65 organizations speaking with one voice on behalf of the health and human services community. And you recognize the power of that association. Could you share with us a little bit about how you envision the health and human services community with its tremendous resources, and in the spirit of connecting the dots, how can we be helpful to you and your students in terms of helping those individuals, give them a hand up?
I think we've got to continue to stay at the table with one another and recognize that in many cases we're serving the same people. The Benefits Bank example that I just gave, that came from a meeting with human service leaders. I had no idea what that was, and described our problem, and Matt Habash said, "You need the Ohio Benefits Bank," and we've had someone on our campus working on that for the last 2 years. So continuing to keep each other top of mind, I think is important. As you know, we have a regional strategy within higher education and K-12 called the Central Ohio Compact. And I mentioned the relationships that we have among leaders. We've codified that in a strategy, and the goal is to have 60% of our citizens hold a post-secondary credential by 2025. We've been working since 2011 to get a lot of the educational assets aligned. We've got employers involved, and then last year we invited the human services leaders to that. I think we're off to a good start, but I think our success has been anecdotal, not systemic, and I'd love to sit down and figure out how to continue to align that, because as I said, non-academic barriers are a huge part of why our students don't persist, and you all are well positioned to help address that.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for this really informative and interesting presentation. My name is Kirsten Carr. I'm the Planning and Environment Director at the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. And we just finished a study called Insight 2050 last year that looked at the demographic growth of Central Ohio, and it found that we are supposed to get about an additional 500,000 people to come to Central Ohio by 2050, which translates into 300,000 new jobs. And if you ask Columbus 2020, they would say that is actually very conservative. Columbus 2020 was a big partner in this with us, and obviously their goal is to attract new businesses to come to Central Ohio. So my question to you would be, are you working with Columbus 2020 to identify the types of skills that the labor force would need that makes it attractive for businesses to come here?
Very closely. Actually, the industry sectors that I talk about in terms of how we're aligning a lot of our work are tied to the 2020 identified sectors of both current need and projected need. And as we all know, as 2020 and others are trying to recruit new businesses to come to the region, the first question they ask is workforce capacity. So the ability for us to really be at the table and be able to deliver the goods in that regard is a big part of our work.
Thank you.
Hi, Andy Campbell. This question comes from John McKnight, who's at our satellite location at Easton, and John works with Rife's Auto Body. He'd like to know how much effort is being put into expanding the skilled trades programs at Columbus State. And if I may kind of add on to that, we know and we keep hearing that there's thousands of jobs available in our region and in our state, and they don't require bachelor's degrees. These are the trades programs and the skilled programs. And I know you offer those. Could you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, it's a big part of what we do, and we're hoping to even expand that a little bit. We had a construction program that when the construction industry slowed down, we can kind of turn things on and turn things off based on, I guess that is when we closed, but we're opening it back up again because now they're hiring again. Because as someone said, producing a graduate without a job destination is not the path we want to follow either. A recent development with regard to the skilled trades is a joint resolution that we've recently put together with Columbus City Schools. And Superintendent Good and I have worked over the last couple of months to figure out how we can better align not just the student experience, but even the use of our assets. Fort Hays High School sits a stone's throw away from Columbus State, and they have assets that our faculty would love to work with. The example came, and we got a National Science Foundation grant in advanced manufacturing, and part of that included a welding component. So as our folks were talking about how to expand our welding capacity, I just said in passing, doesn't Fort Hays have a welding lab? And one of our faculty said they've got the best one in the state. So rather than us build our own welding lab, we want to work with Fort Hays to better align that. They've got, again, similar capacity in construction trades, in automotive, and in those kinds of areas. You're exactly right. Those are important relationships for us. The trade unions are great partners. And we've got apprenticeship programs in place with the electrical workers and others, so that the apprenticeship that they complete counts towards their associate's degree, and they really try to encourage their apprentices to complete.
Hey, Dr. Harrison, it's Ken Hughes.
Hi, Ken.
Hi. The rapid expansion of online courses for college credit, how do you think that's going to change the education landscape, the value equation, and do you guys plan on offering any time in the future?
Well, we do more online learning than any college in the state. So our faculty have been leaders in that from the beginning. We think it's an important part of what we do. As I've talked about, many of our students are working adults. What we see is a lot of students are taking one or more classes on campus, but then we'll supplement that with one or two online. A lot of our students take their online classes in our library because remember, they got to do their homework before they go home. But we think that's an important offering for us. What our faculty are doing now is really taking that to another level in something called learning objects, to really take a course and break it down into more discrete online pieces. They're partnering closely with Apple to develop the technology to do that. And one of the outcomes of that, we're hoping for this anyway, is that some of our faculty will be developing iBooks that will replace textbooks. I got a whole speech on textbook affordability. You know, we were just talking about tuition here, but again, our faculty are really rolling their sleeves up trying to use technology to reduce the cost of textbooks, if not eliminate them entirely. And so I think that's a next thing as it relates to online learning.
Well, we're just out of time, but let's give Dr. Harrison a round of applause. Dr. David Harrison, President and CEO of Columbus State Community College. We're back in the hands of Mindy Wright.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's forum, those of you at the Athletic Club and those of you out at the CMC Satellite at Easton. Remember that you can view and share all of our forums on CTV Columbus Television, on WOSU and PBS affiliates statewide through the Ohio channel, and anytime on CMC's website via YouTube. Once more, thanks to our sponsors, Columbus CEO and DTZ. And thanks to our speakers, David Harrison and Jerry Revish. And thanks to all of you for being here. We look forward to seeing you back here soon.
Thank you.